Hello, Shutter Squad. Welcome back to The One Behind the Lens, the podcast where we talk about the business, the creativity, and everything that happens behind the camera. I'm your host, Kate DeCoste, and today I am joined by Tiffany Crenshaw, a family photographer, educator, homeschooling mom of three, and the founder of Realign Retreat. Tiffany has built a business that fits her life instead of trying to fit her life around her business. And today, she's sharing how photographers can do the same. We talk about boundaries, burnout, creating a sustainable schedule, and why success doesn't have to come at the expense of the life you're trying to build. So grab your coffee and let's get into it. So, Tiffany, thank you so much for being on The One Behind the Lens. It's so great to have you.
Yes, I'm so excited. Very excited.
I know that you're in your kind of a crazy season of life right now. So, thank you again for you just taking the time to do this.
Yes, it is a little circus around here. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit, but I'm
Yeah.
I am glad for a little quiet in the noise to be here.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
So
So, for those who maybe have not met you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you went from, like homeschooling mama to a photographer to an educator?
yeah. So we are originally from South Carolina. We live in Huntsville, Alabama right now. But when we were living in South Carolina, I was a teacher. I feel like that's so many photographers were like, so I used to be a teacher. It's like we all have the same I don't know, but I used to be a teacher, and once I had my 2nd daughter, I started just taking pictures of her and, uh, you know, people started asking how that's how the story goes, and I I thought about doing it a little bit on the side and realized I enjoyed it a lot, and so I decided to do it part-time. It took off. It kind of replaced my teaching job, pretty quickly. And then I decided just to go all in on it. And so we homeschooled. I ran my business. So we moved to Alabama in 2020. And then a couple years ago, I decided that I really had that itch to be back in the classroom, but I knew it needed to look different. And so it's a different kind of classroom. It's a classroom full of creatives and adults that, for the most part, listen pretty well.
Yeah. What were you teaching before when you were in this teaching kids?
I taught 2nd grade for 7 years, and then I was a reading coach for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you're teaching, but yeah, definitely in a
In a
different
different way,
Yeah.
not with tiny people, but I feel like I get a lot of that with my clients being able to spend time with their children and then also our own 3 that we homeschool, so
Sure. Sure. And kinda going with that, I was gonna ask you kinda going with the homeschooling and then running really multiple businesses, what does a typical week kinda look like for you?
that's a great question. I don't know if that typical word belongs in
In
my
there
particular dictionary of things.
Sure, sure.
Um, but I'll give you like a loose flow of our week. So, we typically have co-op 1 day a week, and that's where we join with other homeschool families, and they kind of have some of their like main curriculum, things like that. And then the rest of the week, my husband and I kind of alternate between his job. When he's at work and I'm with the kids, I really try to just homeschool. I've tried before to have like, you know, my workout and all of their work out, and it doesn't work out. So,
Mm.
I have tried to create a little bit of some separation between the 2. So I try to have some homeschooling time that's really focused on homeschooling, and then when he's off, I have a couple of, like, half focus days where I can really get a lot of my work done, and so that's kind of how we run our week. I typically have anywhere between, I'd say, 10 to 20 hours per week for working. And it's going to vary, obviously, depending on field trips or who's sick or who just needs mama today. And I have to make that choice between all right, work's gonna have to pause a little bit. So it's really like a constant reevaluation week to week of what it's
Mhm.
gonna look like, but that's kind of our typical flow. I try not to work on the weekends, if at all possible. I try to, contain it to during the week, so that we can really have family time.
Sure, sure. So then when you're talking about your 10 your hours, 10 to 12 hours, a week, that's including sessions, editing, all of that?
That's not including sessions,
Okay,
but that is
okay,
including all of my, like, post-session work. So
okay,
editing,
okay,
meeting with clients, because I do IPS, so
okay.
I do meet with clients, but, it just doesn't include the actual session itself.
Got it, got
Yeah.
it.
But
That
I
makes
will
sense.
say, Kate, that I'm not high volume. So in the last couple of years, I've really pulled back on the amount of sessions that I do because sustainability wise, with three little kids, it requires so much to be out a lot. And so I'm really choosy about um, what I shoot and when I shoot it. I kind of have a little bit of a non traditional shooting schedule that I run in the fall. I don't know if that's of any interest to,
It Yeah, it really is. It because I had a question about kinda that, how you're running that business that's a little bit more for your seasons of life.
Right. Yeah, so what I have found has been super helpful is really being able to have clear definition of what my weeks are gonna be. So I have my shooting weeks that are my weeks that I do sessions, and then I have my off weeks, and those are my weeks that I more engage in, like, my admin work or, my post processing, like editing and things like that, and so, it used to be, especially in the fall, I know a lot of family newborn photographers, can relate to this, but in the fall, I felt like I was shooting all the time, right? Like, I feel like every day that there was the sunset was nice and it was good weather, I was out shooting and I was missing fall with my family. And
Mhm.
it's like the best time. It's the time that there's all the, you know, pumpkin patches and events and the weather is actually beautiful and you want to be outside, you want to be doing things, but I was always 2 or 3 nights a week shooting. And so it left very limited time to be a family. And so what I've done with my schedule is I will do, we'll say 3 sessions, 3 or 4 sessions a week in the fall, and then the next week I'll have 0 sessions, and I'm really hard line about that, like, I don't let things creep in there. So I truly have a week to clear my mind where it's just about me, my family. I can edit a little bit in between activities or, when kids are in bed, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I love that, and I love that you are because I don't have children, but I have tried that method, and
Okay.
I'm terrible at doing it, like, just
Okay.
staying with it, so this is
Yeah.
actually really great for me too, because I have had that where I'm like, I wanna have it where I'm having an admin week and
Right.
but then I'm right now in the Midwest, I'm ramping up for, like, senior sessions, and
Okay.
I've started, but, like, July, August, September, like, that's gonna be, like, the busy time, so and I'm just like, "Okay, I'll get you in," kind of thing,
Right,
so
right.
I can see other photographers probably listening to this going, "Okay, how is she doing that?" But it's really you. You're just setting that bar.
Yeah, and I go ahead and construct my schedule through my CRM. So, I use Sprout, and I will go in usually around this time, around June, and I'll go ahead and set my dates for fall, and I only open dates every other week. So, that's the only thing on there. So,
Okay.
when they're looking at when I send over that booking link, all they can see is the dates that are on there. And so, I encourage them to book early. There's very few exceptions. It has to be pretty significant for me to do an alternate week. Just because, like I said, I feel like for the mental clarity, I'm so much better when I can know that, okay, this is going to be a really tiring week. I'm going to be out in the evenings. I'm going to be shooting. But next week, I'm going to be able to have some rest and recharge my batteries, do the things that don't require as much of my energy. They're more the things that require my mind, but not my mind and my body.
Mhm.
And so it's really just given me so much peace. And so I'm a huge fan of setting your calendar and that just being what's open, and it encourages people to plan ahead, I think,
Mhm.
and if there isn't something, it's like, well, then I can put you on my wait list in case something opens up,
Mm.
or for the following season.
Okay, okay. I do like that. I think I need to write that down for myself.
We
So
all
just
need that
doing that.
reminder, those
Yeah.
boundaries,
Yeah.
and I've gotten pretty fierce with boundaries. I feel like that's what's needed when, as women, whether we have children, don't have children, we have a lot of mental, emotional load that we carry. And
Mhm.
so I think we have to get better at protecting that. And sometimes we slip into this space of protecting everyone else's mental, emotional space and not our own. And so I'm very passionate about making sure that I'm leading first with, okay, what does my family need from me versus just what do clients need from me?
Mhm. Mhm. I can see someone asking this because this is something I wouldn't especially as a newer photographer, like, if you're, in the 1 to even 5 years,
Right.
setting that schedule, what if, people are worried about, like, losing a client because that schedule, like, that doesn't fit for their schedule and they're gonna, like, lose, say, that session?
Right. Yeah, and that is a real fear, and it's a reality. Like, it's
Mhm.
also a real possibility. And I know I can remember specifically in 2021, fall of 2021, when, we were back out shooting and, my calendar was full, and I said no to no one. I said yes to everyone, because we don't we're like, "I don't know, like, what if I don't get another inquiry? What if I don't" right?
Right.
Like, that's
Right. Yep.
super, concerning, especially if you're trying to support your family. But what I found is I was burning out, and a lot of times the ones that I squeezed in, the ones that those sessions in your gut that "I don't need to do this, like, I don't have time, I don't have capacity," and you say yes.
Mhm.
I found that those were oftentimes the experiences that weren't great, like, between client and me. A lot of times those were the clients that weren't happy, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that I wasn't able to really walk them through my whole process. I was
Mm.
just trying to, like, get them in somewhere. And I found myself, like, as I'm editing, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, like, resentment editing where you're, like, editing things and you're mad, but you're not mad at them, they didn't do anything. It's just you, right?
Mhm.
And I have to gut check when that happens because I know it's because I've crossed a boundary, and I've squeezed somebody in that needed to wait, and so I have come to the conclusion that, the clients that are for you are gonna be for you. And that
Mhm.
sometimes saying no to this opportunity might mean saying yes to something that's better aligned or
Mm.
that's gonna serve you better. And so I always try to give clients this option of, "Hey, I don't have space now, but how about let's get you booked, whatever it happens to be." And I try to really show them the benefits of other seasons as well, that,
Mm.
fall is not the only pretty time of
Sure,
year. Like, I
sure.
try to help guide them with that. Um, and a lot of times they will wait, or they might go with somebody else this fall, and I've had those same clients come back later because
Mm.
I've given them good recommendations. I'm very like,
Mhm.
I'm kind to them. I'm like, "Hey, I'm full, but why don't you check with so and so?" They come back a lot of times, and they're
Sure.
like, "Hey, do you have room?" now. And so I think we have to kinda not have this scarcity, like, not act out of scarcity, but really
Mhm.
act from a place of making decisions that are gonna be sustainable for us.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I was just talking to another photographer, and she was saying something very similar to what you're talking about, and she was even talking about, um, it was more about, like, say these are her, like, guidelines for what she does for her, like, if you when she does her in-person sales, and then she's in New York and everything is shipped. She's not going to have her people come to her apartment anymore, because she'd be waiting, and then,
Mhm.
things would all of the things.
Right.
And she said, and, if that's not something people want, there are other photographers that will do everything that maybe that person wants,
Right,
and there's gonna be
absolutely.
people that want what you do so that
Right,
they're gonna like you said, they're gonna come back.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times I think we exclude people that might be such a good fit because we're saying those yeses that we really shouldn't say yes to.
Mhm.
And so, trusting that process a little bit, that there's enough for all of us and that the right people at the right time will come.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense, and I think, you won't have that overwhelm
Yeah. No
like
no
you were
angry
talking about.
editing,
Yeah, yeah.
the first week in December or right before Christmas when you're trying to catch up on 30 backlogged sessions that you haven't had time for, and, meanwhile, your family is, like, doing all the holiday things, and you're just up all night editing, and, I
Right.
just was like, "I don't want that anymore." That's not, I don't wanna give my best to others before I've given it to the people that are really, like, in my circle, you know?
Mm.
And
Mm.
I'm much better for those individual clients. I'd rather be excellent for 5 clients than mediocre for 35
Mhm.
clients, you know?
Yes.
Um, so I don't know, that's kinda how I view it, but it's hard, and I have to tell myself, like, I probably will put a sign up in my studio come fall that says, "Do not say yes last minute in November," because I do it every year, and there's, like, this last minute November person that somehow forgot they needed photos for the entire year until it's, like, Thanksgiving, and, you fit them in, and they're the ones that are, like, they're not happy, and it's just I'm like, "Why do I keep doing this?" Like,
Sure.
remind yourself, "Don't do this." Set a
Yes.
boundary, and they can wait till later or
Right.
find someone else,
Right.
so we gotta tell
Yeah.
ourselves these things, like, we gotta be our own hype people sometimes and remind
Right.
ourselves.
Right. 'Cause, yeah, I think we, like it's funny because I think you magically forget,
You
and
do.
you're like, "Okay, yes, I wanna get this person in," and then yeah, and then you're reminded again why you weren't supposed to do that. So, yeah, I think you do need to
Absolutely.
put your sign your sign
So
up.
message me in November around Thanksgiving and say, "Hey, remember what you said."
Do you have any talking about, like, seasons and things like that of shooting and seasons of, like, the calendar, are there certain times that you like, literally, like, say, block off a month or block off where you just are taking time off?
Mhm. Yeah, there are. I try not to work 40 hours. I try not to do this, like, all week, every day, like, every week of the year situation, um, and take seasons where I can rest. So, I
Mm,
know that summer is
mhm.
a time even though we homeschool, summer just hits differently. Like, it doesn't
Sure.
matter, it's summer, the kids are, like, they're out of energy, they're out of steam, they have
Yeah.
camps, they have, like, they wanna go do all the fun things, and so I know that summer is going to be that kind of busier time in terms of family and my kiddos. And
Mhm.
so I try to set myself up to where I'm not doing a lot on the shooting side. So summer is a time where I try to really tighten up my workflows. I go check broken links. Even like before this call, I was on my website on my phone and I went to click to like book a consultation and realized that the link isn't it doesn't go, it's not working. And so things like that, like taking time
Mhm.
to do all those things that when you're so busy in the weeds with clients, you don't have time to update those or those automatic emails that you send and every time you're having to tweak something because you're like, "Ah, I need to go in and like actually just fix that," but you don't
Mhm.
for whatever
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
Um, and so I try to build up enough runway budget-wise that I can kinda slow down during those times. And then December, I don't do sessions. I take the whole month of December off. The only time I do a session in December is if we've had, like, repeated, really bad weather and
Mm.
someone's session has to keep getting rescheduled. That's the only thing I will do in December, but I don't take any sessions. I really try to wrap up everything by Thanksgiving and then just be able to be present and just kind of reset, do my own I do like a CEO weekend where I go away. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, it's amazing. And I go away for usually it used to be 3 day, like Friday to Monday. It's a little bit shorter now because I've got a toddler that kind of just showed up late to the game. We were like, "Oh, there's a baby. Okay, great." So it's a little shorter now because of that little blessing, and I actually host a retreat like this for women, for photographers. And so
okay.
my CEO weekend looks a little different than it used to, but it's essentially where I take a weekend and I don't do any like the things that we're just working on your business, like editing and invoicing and all that. I don't do any of that. It's solely a weekend to look through all of my like financials from the year before, my metrics, my bookings. I look at what worked and what didn't work. And then I build out my plan for the year and I build out what my quarterly goals are. And so I have like a really clear picture of my business and what I want to do. My dreams, my goals, and then just the practicals of okay, if I want to do these things like action steps, what am I going to get done in February, in March, in April for these, specific goals. And so um end of December, like into early January, that's that kind of time that I use to really set my business up for the rest of the year.
I love that, and I love that you, like, go away to do it because, A, it's that's just lovely, and B, it probably then it's like, this is what it is, and you can't go, "Oh, there's this distraction," or "There's this
Right.
distraction."
Yeah. And, I would say for like maybe the mom listening that, is in that season where a whole weekend isn't possible because that's very much a reality. We're blessed that, my husband is a little flexible and he can let me do that. But you can still do things like, you know, take 4 to 6 hours a day locally but away from your house.
Mhm.
And it's amazing when you're not at home, you can get a lot done when there's, like, no distractions, like, turn off the phone, just be focused and present, and then, be able to do that over the course of a few days for a few hours. That's still something, it's still amazing. This past time, I rented a little hotel locally. Like,
Mm.
I didn't travel far, but it was far enough that, I wasn't like, "Oh, let me go help my husband with this meltdown that's happening," or "Let me go and just cook dinner real quick." It was, being really disconnected so I could do that hard CEO work because as photographers, we are not just shooters. Like, we're not the associate shooter. We are the CEO. We are the business owner. And so we have to have space to do business ownery things, right? And to make those
Mhm.
decisions that will really actually grow the business versus just doing shoots over and over and over again, right?
Right. And I think it is good because I think especially at least when I first started out, I was photographing everything.
Mhm.
Anything I c you know, if you could
Right.
basically, if you moved, I
If
was
you moved,
I
yep.
was and I learned and I wasn't because I was doing what you're doing, but I was learning, through the years where I'm like, "Yeah, I don't ever wanna shoot another wedding.
Right.
I'm
Yep,
good." Or,
yep.
"You know what? I'm not really very good with I love babies. I just don't think I'm that great as a newborn photographer." Or, and kind of figured out when I would wake up and I had a shoot that day and whatever it was, however I was feeling, I knew, okay, I'm
Mm.
either, like, not excited about this and why am I not excited about it?
Yeah.
Or I'm super excited about it, and maybe I should be kind of focusing more on that.
I love that. I love that, like, gut check, of even just that waking up, like, I think I'm like, I need to listen more, like, what is my body telling me about
Mhm.
this situation? I think that's really smart. There's some things that maybe we like shooting them, it's not our favorite thing, but maybe we like shooting it, and other things that we really love, but we look at our financials and realize, like, that offer has consistently not brought in money. So then we gotta make a choice. Is it that, okay, I need to market it harder, or is it that that's not the offer for your people right now? Like,
Mm.
you can actually look and see what made you the most money last year and
Mhm.
really focus on that thing. Like, if your senior sessions are what's bringing in the majority of your income, but you keep trying to do, like, Easter minis just because you, like, really love them. I mean, you could do it because you just really love it, but also maybe if you just focused a little bit more on those seniors, that could really carry your business? So I
Mhm.
think there's so much value in looking at, like, what do the numbers actually tell us? I also get in this place, I don't know if you feel like this, where I'm like, I'm not making any money or nobody's booking, or like I get in these panic modes. And
Mhm.
then when I go and look at the previous year, like previous March, this March, and I can see on paper, like, oh, it's the same exact income from last March to this March, or actually I've made more this March. It can kind of help us to be a little more grounded instead of leading with emotion, because I think we just get emotional
Mm.
and we're like, "Oh my gosh, things are burning down," and they're really not. They're really
Right.
not.
Yes. Well, and I think too with social media and if you follow other photographers and which I'm kinda like, I'm torn by that because 'cause I'm like, should you follow photographers? Should you not? Like, I think, just if I feel like if you're following photographers and that make you look at it and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it looks like they're shooting all the time." Well, you first of all, you don't know how much they're shooting. That could be
Right,
something even an older post or whatever,
right.
but don't look at that and then be like, "But I'm not doing as much," or you think
Yeah,
that,
right.
too. So I think that can also be something that people will look at and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough."
Mhm, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And social media is only one picture. I have a photographer friend that we just know each other from afar, and I had said, "You are so busy," like, and she messaged me back, she's like, "I really am not." She's like, "I'm struggling to get any, like, I don't have any bookings," and
Mm.
I was like, "Interesting," but, she was doing a ton of collaborations and a lot of, like, donating her time and trying to build, and so
Okay.
from the outside, it looks really busy, but that doesn't mean you don't know the true health of someone's business just by, like, social media, and you don't know what
Mhm.
they're struggling with. Like, you may think you're the only one struggling, but really we're all struggling with something?
Mhm. Time out, friends. If you're a photographer, how many different platforms are you using to run your business? Editing software, client galleries, contracts, invoicing, your website, a CRM. What if you could bring it all together? That's exactly what Visco One does. It's built for photographers and helps you manage your clients, book sessions, send contracts and invoices, edit, deliver galleries, and even showcase your work, all from one connected platform. If you're ready to simplify your workflow and spend more time creating, I've included my Visco One referral link in the show notes. Go check it out and see how it can transform the way you run your photography business.
It's also encouragement to keep showing up, like whichever platform you decide, whether that's, you know, Instagram or email marketing, which is a whole nother conversation, but so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Or, in-person networking and collaborations, however you want to show up, being consistent even when it feels quiet. A lot of the growth happens in those quiet times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with that particular photographer, she's building a runway, and becoming that authority of, this particular market that she was showcasing. Like, she's becoming a person that people can recognize, like, "Oh, she does that." So,
Mm.
sometimes we have to live in that future version of ourselves, even if we don't feel like we're getting the response. It's about showing up and consistently doing it, until it pays off.
Right, right. And I feel like too, if it's something that you're looking at, like we were kind of talking about different things, like if you're like, oh, because I'm thinking too, like, what if you're doing something that you just aren't loving? Like maybe it's making all the money doing seniors, but you just don't love it and you really love newborn photography.
Right,
And maybe you're just, it's scary, but if you want to just make that change, you can do it. You just
right.
gotta, like you said, show up and do all those in person, online, all of the
Right,
things.
right, and, you know, you can always continue doing the thing that maybe isn't your favorite but is producing money can help fund and sustain your new niche. So, you could start in that scenario, you could start weaning back from showing seniors, doesn't mean you're not doing them. There's so
Mhm.
many things I photograph that you will never see because they have nothing to do with my brand. And I think there was a time where the industry, like, it was very much, you have to only shoot this one thing, and, like, you have to have a niche. And I just don't think that's true. I think, I shoot things that I shoot events. You will never see me post those. They have nothing to do with my my photography business.
Right.
I don't love them. I will do them. But I can start really pushing forward facing the things that I want to shoot, while
Mhm.
keeping those little back pocket things, going so that I can sustain myself in that transition.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and I think what you just touched on too, and then if there is a photographer that's struggling in the sense of they wanna shoot a particular thing and they're not getting that, is to not show the other things, to
Right,
only show what you want to shoot. Because I
right.
do events and stuff like that too. I don't put those on social media, that's not on my website, like, I'm not, putting, any of that out there, but I'm posting things that I really wanna shoot.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's a great nugget for anybody that's wondering how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know why when we all start, we have this feeling that we have to show everything, but
I
we all
know.
do. But we all do. We think like, "Oh, I took the pictures.
I have to show it.
I have to show them,"
Yes.
and, that's why I stopped doing sneak peeks,
Mm.
because I didn't wanna set the standard that, your pictures are going to be shown. I didn't wanna
Mhm.
set that standard, because then when there's a session that doesn't quite fit what I would have wanted it to look like, I didn't want that expectation there that,
Mm.
like, why isn't my sneak peek shown, and and
Mhm.
so, I kinda just changed my workflow with that. And I really don't I don't share them anymore. I share things post, like, once they've ordered, I've delivered the gallery, then I might decide what I'm gonna use. But
Use. I
yeah,
kinda
for
am doing
sure.
the same thing, and, like, for seniors, I just bring along my phone and I'm doing video and doing behind the scenes, and it might
Mhm.
just be video of the like, me just, photograph, and that's what I'll show, but
Yeah,
you might not see an actual photo
right.
until later on, if
Yeah.
it yeah.
I think it helps your workflow too. I
Mhm.
think the sneak peek culture really, like, can kill your time when we're talking about scheduling and managing your time when you have limited time, thinking about your workflow, and sneaks were always such an interruption to workflow
Mhm.
because then I feel like I had to get home, had to,
Yes.
like, get them culled, get them edited, get some put up for a sneak, then go back to other galleries that I hadn't finished yet, and so it just really became I felt like I was just taking time away from my productivity, and so,
Mm.
I just kind of removed it from my workflow, and
Yeah.
it's been great. Like, no one it's just you get to set that's the beauty about it being your business is you get to set what your expectations and what your, practices are. No one else gets
Right.
to define that for you.
Right. Right. And I love too that just not having the pressure of a client wanting to see their sneak peek and waiting for it and being like, I know that they're waiting for their for their sneak
Right.
peek, and now
Right.
you don't have to worry about that at all.
Yeah.
Tiffany, I kinda wanna talk about your Realign Retreat. I think you might have touched on it just a tad. Um, I just wanna know, who is it for, and what transformation are you hoping attendees experience?
Yeah. So Realign was born out of my own CEO weekend, like I was telling you earlier. After I'd done a couple of those in January, I thought, this would be great to do this, but with others. I'm such a people person. Like I'm so extroverted. So everything I do, I'm like, how could I do this with somebody else? so um, and it's so funny that first year, my husband was like, "Well, you're not actually gonna have a CEO weekend if you create this retreat for others." And I was like, "Oh, no, like, I'll still." Yeah, he was totally right. It be and I love it. It is, a Thursday through Sunday, and it really is an implementation weekend. It's not a photography retreat that is focused on shooting. And I know that a lot of retreats in our industry are, they're in really beautiful places and there's a lot of gorgeous style shoots, which I love. I think they're great. But I felt like there was a missing piece for photographers that, okay, you have this gorgeous portfolio, but how healthy is your business? Are you
Mhm.
profitable? Are you building in a way that you can sustain, or are you burned out at the end of fall and you're not really sure how to come up for air? And
Mhm.
so I designed this so that you could go away you have, Thursday through Sunday where all you have to do is work on all those CEO things. You get to be the dreamer of your business. You get to be the designer. You get to really revamp things. We have educators that come and work like side by side with you. We've got like an SEO person that will help redo your website with you, a finance person to look at like all your numbers. So it's like all this nitty gritty business stuff. My favorite thing is we have a chef that's there the whole time, so don't
Oh.
I know, it's honestly, it's the running joke that people come for the chef. At, like, our closing night, everyone's sharing, like, their most impactful things, and so many of them shared, you know, "If I'm coming back next year, you have to promise chef's gonna be there," and I'm like, "Yes, chef's gonna be there." Like, but for women to not have to make a decision about
Mhm.
food, like, if they wanted coffee, it's brought to them. Like, it's just you get to be spoiled for a few days and walk away really having a strong plan for your business. So, it's amazing.
I think it sounds amazing, and you're describing things that we don't really want to do. Like, we
Right,
didn't become photographers to do all the things that you just said.
right.
But as business owners, we need to do all of those things that you just said, and you're making it this fun way and getting the help and setting aside that time to
Right,
actually to do it. And so that
right.
could be your CEO kind of weekend that you
Yeah,
were kinda talking about
yeah.
too.
For most of the women there, that was their CEO weekend, and,
Mm,
they were so surprised at a lot of them came in thinking like, "I'm not really gonna get that much done in a few days." Like, how m and then they left, like, one of them was like, "I rebuilt my whole entire website in this time that I've been working on it for months, and, like, all I needed was 2.5 days to, like, sit down and focus," you know?
right.
And no, we're artists. It's not why we get into business, but it is how we stay in business. And
Mhm,
I just really want to support that in our community. I want to see photographers not burn out and not close their doors because, it's not a talent issue. It's
mm.
just it's a structure issue a lot of times.
So
Mhm.
you also offer one-on-one coaching.
I
Um,
do.
what kind of photographers tend to benefit most from working with you?
Yeah. So typically photographers that they usually come to me either for help with their shooting and they really want to learn how to make more connected images, as they're building portfolios, the newer ones. But then the ones that come to me for business, usually they've been in business for some of them several years, anywhere I'd say between like 3 to 10 years. I see that range of photographer, but they haven't developed a clear like, system, right? So they're
Mm,
shooting and they're shooting, they're shooting, but their workflows are a little all over the place and they are undercharging a lot of times. They're not sure even how to raise their prices.
mhm,
And I'm never one that's gonna tell you, you need to just raise your prices. There's so much strategy that goes into that, and a lot of it is client experience. Like, if you're gonna put those higher dollar signs, then you have to have the client journey that matches that, and so that's what I really try to focus in those one-on-one sessions is just helping you map out that business that really attracts higher paying clients, while you get some of your time back. Less
mm.
shooting, more money. That's the goal.
Ooh, I need
That's
that
the
on my wall.
goal. Yeah, less shooting, more money. I'll put it on my website. That's the new
Yeah, that
tagline.
definitely needs to be on your website. I think that definitely is gonna be a soundbite for this,
Yes, I
podcast
love it.
episode.
Perfect.
So, Tiffany, I know that you have, like, a little freebie for listeners. Do you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, I shared with you my quarterly planning guide. It's where you can go in. There's all 4 quarters in there and really plan out. I like to encourage just 1 to 3 goals per quarter. Nothing crazy, just something small that you can really address and give your full attention to. And so it helps you kind of plan out like your profit goal that quarter, what your main overarching goals are, and your action steps to accomplish those. So I sent that template over to kinda get people started, and there's a more in-depth version if they wanna reach out to me, I'm happy to share it, that really will help you have your own CEO day, so that you can start to, think about all those things as you go through your year.
Perfect, and I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll also put, all the information about how to find you for coaching
Yeah.
and for the, Realign Retreat, and I meant to ask, when is the Realign Retreat
It is
retreat?
January 14th through 17th,
Okay,
and
okay.
we are headed to Santa Rosa Beach.
Ooh.
Yes, we went there last year, and all the attendees wanted to go back, and so, we're headed back to the beach.
They're like, "We're going back to the
We're
beach."
going back it's January, so,
Yeah.
like, no one wants to be cold in January, so the
No,
beach it
no.
is.
So, yeah, when you say beach for January, I think people are like, "Okay, yeah, I'm coming."
Right, they're like, "I'm getting away from the snow." I'm assuming you're, like, buried under Midwest snow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if there isn't snow, it's definitely cold, so, yeah, definitely
Right.
getting away.
Yeah, getting away. Fun fact, though, last year, the morning we were leaving the Airbnb, it started snowing in Florida.
Really? Oh, wow.
Which was crazy. I was like, I picked the one place I knew we would never get snow, and yet here we were getting
Getting snow.
snow. It was minor, but, it's just
That
funny. It was just funny.
yeah, like, funny,
So,
like, little fluke.
yeah, so hopefully this year, no snow, and it'll
Right.
be quite lovely, so that's the goal.
Yes, yes. Tiffany, where can photographers, if they wanna connect with you, what's the best way to
Yeah, they
connect?
can always DM me. I love DMs. I love voice DMs. I will talk to you in there, over at Tiffany Crenshaw EDU on Instagram. If they want the more artistic side of my business, all my work is at Animal House Photography. So, yeah, DM me, reach out to me. I have coffee chats for free. Happy to talk and just be a listening ear for them.
I love that. I love the little like, having a little coffee chat.
Yeah. Coffee, you have to bring coffee though. It's a
Right, right,
requirement.
like, that's the
It is a requirement. Yeah. Absolutely.
no there can't be a coffee chat without coffee.
Right, it's not. It's not a coffee chat without coffee. At least, like, hot tea. You gotta at least
Oh, sure.
come with something to drink and be cozy with, so
Okay, okay. Tiffany, I have a little section before we go. I have a little, part of my podcast that I like to do called a rapid fire.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, and I think I know the first answer to this one
Okay.
because it's coffee or tea.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be coffee.
Yeah, I figured that. I was like, I think I already know that one.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
Sunrise session or sunset session?
Sunset.
Favorite homeschool subject?
Mm, I'd say reading.
Okay.
Probably the reading teacher in me. That's
Sure.
par for the
Yes.
course.
Yes. One tool you can't run your business without?
Sprout, for sure. Yeah, CRM, gotta have it.
One word you're focusing on this season?
Presence.
Mm.
Yeah.
If your business had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my god.
And if you can't think of, like, a song, maybe more like, genre or
Yeah. Theme song for my business. We'll just go with "This Girl's on Fire." We'll go with that because
Ooh,
because I have to hype myself up because every morning I'm like, "I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm just gonna crawl back in bed." It's so much, right? It's so much.
sure.
We do a lot, and so, sometimes we need a song that just, like, reminds us, like, "You got this. You're good at what you do. Keep doing it." So, I'll throw that one out there.
I love it, I love
Yeah.
it. Now it's in my head.
Yeah. Yep. Say it until you mean it. Like,
Yeah,
that's how I
yeah.
run with life, so
Oh, I like that one too. That's another good sound bite.
there you
Say
go.
it till you mean it.
Say it until you mean it.
So my last segment is a photo confession booth. So I'm
Okay.
gonna have you step into the photo confession booth, and if
Alright.
there's
I'm coming. Here it is.
okay, if
Alright.
there's anything, that happened during a shoot, after a shoot, anything that like a blooper of anything that you wanna confess?
I will. I'll confess about 2 falls ago, a session that I mixed up the day. So, they were there, I was not. I got there super late. We had about 20 minutes left of the sunset, and I realized my battery was flashing red. So I shot, as much as I could, and then I just pretend shot for like 10 minutes, and was just praying that I got enough in the time we had because I had no battery, and I was like, "Well, this is awkward, so we're just gonna go with it." It was one of my best sessions to this day,
Oh,
actually.
wow!
Yeah, to this
Nice.
day, so when you have a time pressure, I think we show up. We're like, "All right, we're gonna get this done." I don't
Yes,
recommend
yes.
not charging your batteries, though.
Uh,
Charge your batteries.
that is, like, the one thing you would think that I think there's something about, like, people will be like, "Oh, you lift up your camera and you still have the lens
The
on
lens
it or
cap,
or the
yep.
lens cap on it,"
Mhm.
but I'm like, "No, it's the
The
batteries." Like,
batteries. I don't
the charging of the battery, because I have done that where I'm shooting and it's flashing red. Thank goodness you do have a good amount of little bit of a time buffer usually to be like, "Okay, I gotta
Wrap this
move."
up. Right.
Yeah, but it is that thing, I'm like, "Why am I still like, why is that still happening?"
Right, it's been 7 years. Why have I
Right.
not learned to plug in and charge a battery? It shouldn't be
Mhm.
that hard, but,
I know.
here we
I
are.
know. Oh my gosh, but I love the pretend shooting.
It's so embarrassing.
I
It
think
is,
that's
it's terrible.
genius. I would have never thought of that, and if I'm ever in that situation, I'm totally gonna do it.
Just gotta, sell it. You gotta sell it hard.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they're not like, "What happened to all those, pictures at the end?" You're like,
Right, right.
"They
Yeah.
didn't turn out at all, in fact.
Yeah.
No, didn't turn out."
They just just
Like they
didn't.
weren't even there.
Right, right.
No, it's great. So,
Oh, Tiffany, this was such a great conversation.
it was fun. It was
Thank you
really,
so much
really
for
good.
doing this, and I'm, I might have, tears in my eyes from the laughter, but
Yeah, it was
this
good.
was great for for all photographers.
Yeah. I'm excited to help any way I can.
Thank you so much, and, like I said, I'll have everything in the show notes and how to reach Tiffany, and yeah, thank you again for being on.
All right, guys, I'll see you later.
Wasn't Tiffany incredible? I loved this conversation because it was such a good reminder that boundaries aren't limitations. They're actually what allows us to serve our clients better and enjoy the business we've worked so hard to build. If one thing stood out to me, it's that we don't have to say yes to everything in order to be successful. We can create schedules that fit our lives, protect our energy, and build businesses that are sustainable for the long haul. If you'd like to connect with Tiffany and learn more about her coaching or check out her Realign Retreat, you'll find all those links as well as her free quarterly planning guide in today's show notes. And if this episode encouraged you, would you do me a quick favor? Share it with another photographer who might need to hear it. Those recommendations mean the world, and they're one of the best ways to help this podcast reach more creatives. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and come hang out with me over on Instagram. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways from today's conversation. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and remember, sometimes the best thing you can do for your business is build the one that gives you a life that you actually get to enjoy. I'll see you next week on The One Behind the Lens.
Shut up and